Hey, I'm Levon. I'm the founder at Playgram. If you're watching this, chances are you've probably heard of OpenClaw, but I bet you think OpenClaw is mostly as a personal assistant that can help you with your email or scheduling events in your calendar. Yes, it can do that, and it's very good at that. But I think the best use for OpenClaw is when you actually create digital agents, invite them to Slack, give them email account, and they become your digital workers, right? You can tag them in Slack, you can give them tasks, and they will not be just a chatbot that gives you an answer, but they will actually go and do things. So if you give them access to different tools, I'm going to bring you some examples how we use it at Playgram so you can see what AI agents can do. And as Jensen Huang, the CEO of NVIDIA, recently said, every company should have an OpenClaw strategy. So we're going to review how OpenClaw can power your business and make your team much more productive and efficient. We're also going to talk about how OpenClaw is better for team use compared to Cloud Code, Cloud Cowork, or Perplexity Computer, because a lot of people say, oh, I use these tools and they're great and I don't need OpenClaw. Yes, mostly for individual use, that's what you're going to need and it's going to be sufficient. But if you want your entire team to interact with AI agents, I'll show you how OpenClaw shines at that. And very important aspect we're going to talk about is security, because OpenClaw out of the box is not secure, especially if you want to use it at for your company, for your business. And I'll demonstrate how Playgram takes care of that, and how much thought we put into making OpenClaw secure. And yeah, let's dive into different use cases that we have at Playgram for AI agents. Before we do that, I want to review the three types of activity that OpenClaw agents can have. So one is the recurrent activity that runs on a certain schedule that can be every day, it can be like bi-weekly, it can be every Thursday at 9:30 a.m., it can be every 15 minutes, etc. I'll show you different examples of different schedules. The second type is on-demand activities. It means when you or your teammates let's say tag an agent in Slack or send an agent an email, and agent acts upon that. And the third type is event-triggered activity. It means when an email received from outside or a notification comes to Slack, etc. So think of it as more of as automation kind of thing. When something happens, agent does something else. All right, let's take a look at some use cases for OpenClaw agents at Playgram. So one of the first ones we have here is Jet Performance Marketing Agent sending us weekly Google Ads reports where we can see what's the spend, what's the impressions, clicks, CTR, and different parameters here. So this is happening automatically every week. If you wanted to set this up without OpenClaw, you would probably need Zapier or something like that, and like spend time setting it up. Like every little field would have to be configured separately. In this case, you just message chat and you say, I want this kind of report configured, and it basically sets everything up on its own without you having to deal with any of these details, right? Another example is Elliot sending us daily page speed report. This is Elliot accessing Google API for Google Page Speed Insights to make sure our website is performing well. The speed and things like that are optimal, because this is important for SEO and also for AI results that are provided by AI providers. So we monitor this daily to make sure it's all working well and nothing is broken by the changes we've made like previous day. One more example here is Elliot sending us traffic, website traffic, using his Google Analytics access, so he can pull anything from GA, send us all these metrics here every day. Here we have Sage, our content manager, content marketing manager. So once we started using OpenClaw, I started recording all my calls using Granola. So all team calls or client calls I've recorded with Granola, and then I gave Sage access to my Granola using MCP connection. I also told her to monitor daily a few Slack channels where we have like internal team discussions, and I told her every day give me 3 post ideas based on the conversation that are happening in Slack, and also the calls that I I've done previous day. So she scans the transcripts of my calls, she scans the conversations in these channels, and comes up with 3 ideas, or 2 or 3 ideas that she posts in Ordinal. Ordinal is the tool that we use for social media planning, specifically LinkedIn and X. So she drafts an idea for an article, and then she adds also an image which she generates using Nano Banana. Her main model is Claude Sonnet 4.6, but for image generation, Nano Banana is best, so we use that. And so I go to Ordinal, review the content ideas, make some edits if I need to, and then I just schedule the post, and it goes live. I tried many times throughout my career to be disciplined about posting. It never worked, and I would give up after like a week of trying. But with OpenClaw, I've been posting consistently every day, for months or even more ever since we started using OpenClaw. So another thing Sage does is posts a bi-weekly report of competitor monitoring. So she checks specific competitors that we ask her to check, and she goes to the website. So agents can have their browsers, can use browsers. They can like browse any website and parse information, or click on stuff, etc. Unless the websites block like bot behavior, then they can do it. And so she visits these competitors and send us a report of what changed on their websites, what updates they have, what news, etc. So we can like be aware of that and up to date. One more use case is for our recruiting and HR function. So Vera, our HR assistant, she has access to the recruitment website that we have where we post ads. So now our HR director just tells her, okay, we need this role, draft the job description, and after he approves it, she goes and posts it and monitors all responses through API. And once she gets a response, she creates a task in Asana. She uploads the resume. She scores the resume based on how good of a fit she thinks it is for the role, and adds all these candidates into the spreadsheet in Google Sheets, right? So all agents have access to Google Drive, Google Sheets, etc., so they can use those tools. And then she highlights the top 10 best fit candidates, and once the HR director goes through them and approves them, she can then email them and coordinate a call with me and HR director. So she basically automates all the recruitment pipeline for us. She also has tools. She has access to different internal HR policies, like what's our paid time off thing, and like if people have access about that on the team, they can tag her and she will explain everything to them. She has access to our time tracking tool through API, and we can ask her to pull some reports and analyze productivity metrics, like and also who worked on what can we improve in terms of productivity and efficiency and stuff like that. That's really an amazing use case for a digital agent. This is an example of on-demand interactions. So Oscar, our marketing manager, he asks Elliot to give him like details about the engagement from the newsletter campaign that we've done with MailChimp, and Elliot is pulling all that information here and sends it to Oscar. Another example is where Oscar again asks Jet to duplicate a Google Ads campaign, and then explains, so Jet does that, and then Oscar says, okay, change the target countries to these, set this campaign budget, filter out mobile, show it to only desktop and tablet, and etc. So there is interaction about that. Jet does everything. Oscars doesn't have to go into Google Ads and do any of this manually. So imagine if you had like a real person, human like employee doing this, but instead this is an AI agent that does everything. So it saves a lot of time for the marketing manager. He doesn't need like a separate performance marketing employee or analytics, analyst employee or anything like that. So we use a lot of AI agents basically for the marketing team. One more example here is Elliot uploading different videos to our Playgram YouTube channel. So Oscar's just gave him access either through Google Drive or just uploaded the files directly to Slack. And then Elliot goes and uploads everything. Again, Oscar doesn't need to open the browser and go to YouTube Studio to do that. Next example is Oscar asking Elliot to create Google Analytics audience, and Elliot does that. Also, when we were just setting everything up, so we have website, we have GTM, Google Tags Manager, we have Google Audience, Google Analytics. We asked Elliot to connect everything, to set up the tracking events, do all of that. Oscars didn't have to do, didn't touch any configuration settings manually, so agents did all of that themselves. One more example here is Oscar's tagging Kai, who is our front-end engineer. He has access to our GitHub repository with the marketing website, and whenever we need to change anything there, he just asks Kai. So he goes and change the title on the homepage from this to that, and then Kai reports back. Everything is pushed to Vercel automatically. So again, no engineers need to be involved in this. So one more example here. We have this channel where we receive notification about new emails added to Playgram, and this is my email. So I send up just a test to sign up, and then Nia, our SDR outreach and lead enrichment agent, she pulls information from Apollo, enriching basically this lead, which is me, and she also gives a score, how good of a fit in terms of ICP this lead is, right? So basically, yeah, agents are powerful. You can give them you can give them access to almost any tools through API or through the browser, and they can go and do things, not just give you responses or give you information how to do things, but actually take action on your behalf, or on your team's behalf. Next thing I want to talk about is the comparison, how OpenClaw compares to Cloud Cowork or Cloud Code or Perplexity Computer. These are amazing tools for individual use, right? But when it comes to team use for setting up digital agents, OpenClaw is best. And here's why. So it's not possible to set up a shared team access with Cloud Code or Perplexity. It's mostly individual use. It's not easy to set up a digital employee in Slack. Maybe you can set up one Slack bot, but it's not going to be an agent that can work with different team members, right? It's going to be a Slack bot which is available only to you based on your information, based on your setup of Cloud Code, for example. Yes, you can set up some scheduled task with Cloud Code, but again, they will be limited to you, and your computer needs to be running for that. Handles real work, yes. Both Cloud Code and Perplexity Computer do that, but not AI chats. Team workflows are not possible with Cloud Code or Perplexity Computer. Long-running tasks somewhat. Support multiple AI providers. This is wrong here, so this should be yes. Perplexity Computer does support it, but Cloud Code does not. If you use Cloud Code or desktop, it will use only Anthropic models, whereas with OpenClaw, you can set up multimodal setup. So not only every agent can run on a certain model primarily, but it can also use different models depending on on the tasks they need to do. If it's something complex, they can use the best frontier model, which is more expensive. If it's something very simple and trivial, you can tell them to use open source or very cheap models. For example, Google released Gemma 4 recently, which is an open source model, and it's still pretty good for a lot of tasks, right? So it's very flexible in that regard. And also, you don't need to pay per seat, which is the case with Cloud Code or Perplexity or any other AI providers. It's usage-based. So whatever your token consumption is, that's what you pay for with OpenClaw. So I really think OpenClaw is best if you want to set up multiple digital agents. With one server, you can set up basically unlimited amount of number of agents. It's just the more agents you have, the higher capacity of the server has to be, so you need to upgrade the memory, the CPU, and stuff like that. Now let's talk about security a little bit. OpenClaw is not secure out of the box, and we make it safe to use, especially for the teams. So we have this hosted and managed off like a service for OpenClaw, where you just one-click deploy a server. It takes under 10 minutes. Once it's deployed, you can have access to it through through IP and password if you need, but like also through this interface, you can manage it. You can see all of its configuration, connect your APIs here, set up your communication channels. You can enable or disable specific skills or find new ones. You can see what are the scheduled and regular tasks here, analytics like token consumption and logs. And then security, these are the security measures here that we configure automatically, and you cannot switch them off. These are like mandatory because we really want to make sure that using OpenClaw by Playgram is safe for the teams, so no one can break into your server. No data will be leaked through prompt injections or whatnot. So there are like, these are 13 security hardening measures that we configured, and we're working on adding more just to make sure, like, and also we are setting up the optimal configuration for the OpenClaw, based on best practices for this kind of thing. So yeah, check it out. Also take a look at the main Playgram product, which is a unified interface that has all the major AI providers here, top frontier models, as well as the open source ones from China. But rest assured, these are running on US infrastructure, so nothing goes to China, and so you can be safe in terms of like data being lost or stolen or anything like that. So there are different levels of chats here: individual, projects, and team chats. Individual are available only to you. Projects can be shared between other team members, and team chats are available to everybody on the team. And the best feature here is that we have a shared memory. So whatever you or your team provides or uploads to AI while communicating with it, we store all of that. All the information and facts are being remembered by the platform, and for any subsequent interaction with AI, we surface the most relevant memory provided along with your prompt to the AI, so that AI can tailor its responses best to what you're asking, and also keeping in mind the context about you or your company or your project that you're working on. So even if you switch to different model, within the same conversation, the new model will have all the context, so you can just continue chatting like nothing happened using the new model, and like you can switch back and forth anytime. You can use image generation. You can have like high reasoning, web search, deep research with OpenAI. All these tools are already available. And the best part is that you don't need to pay per seats. You can onboard as many employees as you have, be it 50 or 100, and you pay only for the usage, right? Check it out. If you have any questions, let us know. We'll be happy to help you out or to answer any of those. If you go to our website at playgram.ai, there is an intercom button at the lower right corner. So open it up, send us a message. Me or my team will be happy to get back to you. All right, see you soon. Take care. Bye.